Good evening. We complain when the line at the airport is long, when the flight is delayed, when the man at the desk asks for our papers a second time. Tonight I want to tell you about people for whom crossing a border was not an inconvenience but a death sentence they chose to risk anyway. They come from North Korea and from the logging camps and building sites where that country rents its own citizens out to the world. To leave, they crossed frozen rivers in the dark, walked over mountains, hid for months in a country that would send them back if it caught them, and traveled through several nations knowing that one mistake could cost them everything and their families more. I'm Marty, and this is not a story about escape as we usually mean the word. Let us begin. Story 1. When we hear the word escape, we picture a fence and a dash across it, a moment of danger, and then freedom on the other side. That is not what escape means from North Korea. There is no single border you sprint across into safety. The heavily fortified line with the South is very nearly impossible to cross on foot, sown with mines and watched by soldiers on both sides. So nearly everyone who leaves goes north instead, into China, which is not freedom at all, but the first leg of a journey that can stretch for thousands of miles and take months or years. Escape here is not a moment. It is a long, deadly gamble that begins the instant you decide to go and does not end until you are standing at last, somewhere no one can send you back. Story 2. The routes are made of rivers and mountains. In the north, the Tumen and the Yalu separate the country from China, and in the deep of winter they freeze. Reportedly, many make the crossing then, in the cold and the dark, because ice can be walked, and because the guards too are miserable in the cold. People have drowned when the ice gave way. Others have frozen. Once across, the journey is only beginning. To reach true safety, most travel in secret across China, a distance of thousands of miles, sometimes down into Southeast Asia, through Laos or across the Mekong into Thailand, moving at night, trusting brokers whose motives are never simple. Several countries, several borders, each one a place where it can all end. Story 3. We should be honest about the price of failure, because the people who run understand it completely. If they are caught in China, they are not treated as refugees. Reportedly, they are sent back, and what waits on the other side is interrogation, and for many a labor camp or a prison whose conditions human rights investigators describe as brutal beyond easy telling. And it does not stop with the person who ran. Under the doctrine that has governed that country for generations, punishment can fall on the family left behind, on parents and brothers and children who did nothing but stay. To escape, then, is to gamble not only your own life but the freedom of everyone you love. Knowing that, and going anyway, is a kind of courage most of us will never be asked to find. Story 4. So why run at all, when the cost of failure is so total? The answer is the oldest one there is. People are not built to live forever with a boot on the neck. They want to say what they think without watching the door. They want to feed their children to worship or not as they choose, to know that a knock at night is only a neighbor. Those who have gotten out speak again and again of a hunger that is not for food but for dignity, for the simple standing of a human being who owns their own life. That hunger is stubborn. It survives cold and fear and the memory of the fortunate, and it drives ordinary people to do the extraordinary thing, to walk out into the dark toward a freedom they have only heard of. Story 5. There is a second kind of escapee, and their courage is quieter. The country earns hard currency by sending its workers abroad, reportedly tens of thousands of them, to logging camps in the forests of Russia, to building sites in one country after another. They labor long hours for wages that are mostly taken from them before they ever see them, watched by minders, their passports held by the state. And some of them, standing in a foreign forest or on a half-built tower, decide to walk away. They slip from the site with nothing, leaving behind the job, the minders, and hardest of all, the family back home who may pay for their choice. To vanish from a labor site in a strange country, with no money and no papers and no certain friend, is an act of desperate, lonely bravery. Story 6. Think about what these people carry once they are out. Not luggage, they left with nothing. They carry guilt, the weight of the ones they could not bring, the mother, the wife, the child whose face they see every night and whose safety they cannot know. Many describe a survivor's ache that never fully lifts, a freedom that always tastes of loss. And they carry something else, something the rest of the world badly needs. They carry testimony. Nearly everything we understand about the camps, the hunger, the labor sites, the machinery of that system, we know because someone got out and was willing to speak, to sit before investigators and parliaments and cameras and say, "This happened to me, this is real." That testimony is a burden and a gift, and they bear it for people they will never meet. Story 7. So here is my verdict. We use the word freedom lightly, the way we use it for a long weekend or a cheaper phone plan. These escapees remind us what it actually weighs. Their courage is the exact measure of the thing they fled, because no one crosses a frozen river in the dark. No one gambles their family's safety. No one walks away from everything they have ever known for something small. And their testimony is the reason the rest of us know any of this at all. The reason a system built to be invisible has a name and a face and a record. They risked everything to be free, and then they turned around and told us the truth so that we might be a little wiser about the world. We owe them our attention and our respect. I'm Marty. Thank you for spending this time with me, and good night.